Hello and welcome to Cable Plus Property, your #1 online educative platform on all issues related to land and landed properties. My name is Oiza. At Cable Plus Property, our aim is to ensure that all Nigerians and non-Nigerians have at the tip of their finger every information related to land acquisition, land procurement, building construction, planning, registration and documentation of land and landed properties. We provide you with everything you need to know about getting your properties registered and obtaining your planning permit. Estate surveying is another aspect of the surveying profession that plays an important role in the built environment. Join me as I speak with Dr. Kuye Olusegun. He's a learned estate surveyor, an author, and a lecturer in the Estate Management and Valuation Department of Yaba College of Technology, Yaba, Lagos, Nigeria. This is Cable Plus Property. Now, recently, the Lagos State government said that tenants will now be allowed to pay their rent monthly to the landlords come 2022. What is your take on this, and how do you think this will benefit landlords and tenants?
Number one, well, people may be frowning at me because they are not used to it, but I'm excited. Number one, it will reduce the burden, just like the government is trying to say. What the government of Lagos State is trying to do, that it will relieve the burden on the tenant. For example, come January, everybody, a lot of people, their rent is due 31st December. So, which means by 1st of January, is supposed to pay another rent. School is resuming that week for those who have kids in school. So the burden is much. And, instead of paying 500,000 at a go, it could break it down into 12 now. So, it will be much more convenient for the tenants, and also be convenient for the landlord too, in the sense that the landlord will have a regular income. Not the kind of income that they will take in bulk and spend and start coming to borrow money from.
But landlords will tell you, if I take 250,000, for example, at the end of the year, I have a plan. I can use it to execute something better than taking 20,000 at the end of the month.
Well, it depends. We practiced this thing before, tenement building. So I mean, it got to a point when this yearly rent, I think it started by paying quarterly, 3 months on 3-month basis, gradually into 6 months, now a yearly, and some are not even taking a year rent. 2 years, 3 years, it's killing, and that's why management becomes a problem. The implication on property management will be this: one, the property agent will have more work to do because you have to be knocking every month to collect that money. Okay, that's one. Then number two, the agency will be coming piecemeal, small. Maybe that's why they are against it. It gives professional more work to do. But the beauty of it is that it will make rent default a bit difficult, because if you have a yearly tenant, the regulation says, the law says you give 6 months notice for a yearly tenant. But a monthly tenant, you give 1 month notice, so you can easily get off any bad tenant from your house, from your property. So that people are not looking at that aspect. When I school in Europe, I pay my rent weekly, so you are in a week, you are out. So the landlord doesn't have to wait for another 6 months, another 1 year, going through lengthy court processes before you can get the tenant out, before you can get what you are due to. So understand, before it gets too long, 1 month you are owing, 1 month you haven't paid. Second month.
And you think it would not put pressure on the tenant?
No, well, you plan. It will make a tenant to take a house that he can afford.
Okay.
For example, if I'm earning 100,000 a month, per year. Okay, I'm earning 100,000 a month. Okay, I won't go and be taking a house of 120,000 or 150,000 a month. So you look for a house that can accommodate, that can be accommodated by your income, by your monthly income. Okay, so instead of looking for a house of 120,000 per month, you look for a house of 30,000 or 40,000 per month. So you look for something that your budget, your income can support. That's one aspect. And it will make you have a better budgetary plan. If you if you have the mindset that you have to pay your rent weekly, monthly, like government is trying to propose now, the monthly something is outside that they are paying weekly. You see, you know that, oh, when I collect my salary, I will pay my rent, I will pay NEPA bills, then other statutory, then I will know this is what is left for, you know, for feeding or running your house or something. So but if it is sometimes when you are paying less than 1.5 million naira and your income per year is about 1 million naira, so when your rent is due at the end of the year, it becomes a problem. How do you raise 1.5 million naira to pay for rent?
So you're fully in support of it?
I'm fully in support too. Okay. Because it will, you know, to me it's much more convenient for the tenant to. So government is trying, I think that's part of their social responsibility to make sure that the people are not subject to too much sufferings. And come to think of it, there are so many vacant properties that is begging for occupants. When you ask for 3 years rent, where will they get it? And okay, you go for short-term loan to pay rent. How do you service the loan? How do you pay back? As you are paying back, another rent is due. So there will be rent default. But if you break it down and you are paying at regular intervals, you'll be able to a tenant that is comfortable, you won't pay 2 months in advance. You know, okay, let me pay 2 months together. Let me pay 3 months together. That's an arrangement between him and what people don't realize is that all these tenement buildings, if you pay yearly, I don't know, the landlord don't usually do any repairs. Because my landlord, you know, my house is leaking and you are coming to ask me for rent now. So how do we solve this problem? It's raining now, see my house is leaking. Please help me do something. Are you following? But if it's a yearly, the landlord will just collect his rent and go away. Whatever the tenant is now facing is none of his business again. I think there are a lot of angles that one can look at considering this new government policy. And by consistent implementation or enforcement, people will get used to it. It's going to be a new system and people will have to adapt to it. People are used to collect agency fee. People are used to collecting agreement. People are used to collect, are used to collecting 2-3 years rent and so on. So, but gradually, through enforcement and constant, consistent implementation, I think it will sink in.
You spoke about landlords having to drag their tenants to court before they can eject them. Now, you find out that oftentimes the court gives the tenants stay of 3 to 6 months. Now, the viewer would like to know, is it necessary for the tenants to pay during this period?
You will pay. Then now we have to pay. Then now we continue.
Is it an obligation?
It's an obligation. In fact, okay, now some tenants do make the mistake or commit the error to think that once it has been taken to court, so it's free. It's not free. That's what they call men's profit. That's MENSC, if I get the spelling correct. MENESC, men's profit. So it's the rent, that the tenants will be paying during that period when the case is in court. So the court could order that the rent be paid to the court. And if the tenant should wait, the case could go on for like 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, depends. And the tenant stop paying. It's a big problem. You still pay the landlord what you are owing.
The same amount,
but it will be at the rent, being paid as at the point the tenant, was taken to court. So there will be no increment or nothing. It will be just at that point. In other words, the court will say, okay, status quo be maintained. In other words, whatever it is that the tenant is enjoying, keep enjoying. Whatever it is that the tenant is paying, he should keep paying it. So the landlord cannot increase the rent during that period. That's all. That's the only benefit. But I will not pay rent. It's a lie. It will pay to the last kobo. If care is not taken, if he purposely refused proving stubborn not to pay that rent, he may pay with interest. So the landlord could ask for interest on his money, on the money being owed, and the court may grant the prayer.
Land use planning, rather, is a major function of town planners. Okay. How relevant is it to estate surveyors and
It's very relevant because, for example, like I did mention earlier that a client that want to develop and develop a property and integrate the services of a developer or the service of any surveyor and valuer. You should understand. The estate surveyor and valuer is source for land in the appropriate place, at the appropriate place. In other words, at a place where it has been sown for the use that the client has in mind. So, and that enhances the value of that property. For example, if you go and build a resident house within an area zone for industrial, government will not even approve it. You still go to the town planning authority, they will reject that outrightly anyway. But assuming it's even negligently allowed or something, you won't enjoy the value. You enjoy the. For example, there was this house somewhere in Sulere. At the back of that house is an industrial complex. They run their generator 24/7. So the vibration, the noise, will not even make it to, have some peace. And you don't expect to have maximum value of that residential house in that particular location. So it is important that people follow zoning regulations. It enhances their property value. It creates room for peace of mind, and or what have you, is the best.
Okay. What kind of document or information should a client request from an estate manager? When he wants to, give him a job or probably engage his services as an estate manager.
Okay, you mean the property owner now?
Yes.
What type of documents? Of course, you want to know if
for legality's sake and formality.
Well, you want to, in fact, in the proposal, in the letter of proposal that might have been written to the client to introduce his services, will I even state his qualifications, his competence in terms of, being a registered surveyor and valuer, in other words, being granted license to practice what, is doing or is requesting the client to allow him to do for him or her. Are you following me?
Yes.
Then also, the capability of that client. In other words, what I've done before, I've handled this property, I've handled that, and so on, which will be very visible to the client anyway. And also, what their capacity in terms of the personnel and the equipment with which they work. All those we show. So the client can visit the office to verify some of these claims. So, but it's not that the landlord will be asking, go and bring your CV, go and bring your, no. Usually go by way of proposal. Okay. So we should detail some of these things, and the client could verify this later by visiting the office.
All right. As a professional, I would like you to explain to the audience what a CFO, an assignment, and governor's consent is, okay, and how can someone, get this document. Okay,
let's take it one after the other. First one.
CFO.
Certificate of occupancy. Under the Land Use Act, there are provisions that you are given a certificate that you are an occupant of a particular land that have been duly assigned to you by government. Now, occupancy means I'm the one on the land. You are occupying, you are using it. That's the occupation aspect. So when you now talk of certificate of occupancy, okay, the authority to use land that I'm using for the purpose for which I'm using it, that is certificate of occupancy. And there are two types. There is the one granted by the governor. They call it statutory right of occupancy. The governor grants that and signs the CFO. And there is another one called the one issued by the local government. Okay, so those are the two types: CFO by the local government, CFO by the. So, in respect of the CFO by the state government, is the land area within the state for which the state governor have sole authority to manage, and over which they have a committee as established in the Land Use Act called Land Use and Allocation Committee. They assist the governor in land allocation, in land management, and all that. So, in response of those lands, the government give what they call statutory right of occupancy. It's only the governor, the state governor that can use it. For example, in Lagos State, every land in Lagos State, was declared urban land by the Jakonde administration. I think 1979 or thereabout. So the whole land mass in Lagos is directly under the control of the state government. Local government has, so if they need that, they need to apply to the state governor for allocation, maybe to use as market or whatever purpose that they might intend it. But it's only the state government that issue. Now, in respect of that statutory occupancy of that CFO, you pay what they call ground rent annually to the government. So, being that government is the landlord, so you pay rent to them, but the rent you pay, you call it ground rent, and it's on an annual basis, and they expect you to pay. Otherwise, they can get you out of the land. So it's like you are paying your landlord and you are not paying, so you have no right to continue to occupy. So you go. What's the next item? Assignment. Assignment is between individuals. For example, if I take a list of land from government, the Land Use Act ascribe a maximum of 99 years leasehold. In other words, if government wants to give you land, all those estates, all those laid by government, the highest title you can have is 99-year leasehold. Over which they give you certificate of occupancy, CFO. Okay. Now, I have a 99-year lease on the land. I can say, okay, I want to give somebody to use that land for some time, maybe 20 years, 30 years. That's why the issue of developers comes in. Okay, so you can give part of the land. You can give, that is, you have 99. You can give out of that 9, you can give 30 years. That's leasehold. Assignment now is if you give the totality of your interest on that land to a third party by way of sale or whatever it is, or gift. You can drive somebody your land or your property or your building, or you can give part of it. If you give part of it, it's called leasehold. If you give totality of it, it's an assignment.
Governor's consent.
The governor's consent is that, the government owns the land by virtue of, or exercises control over the land by virtue of the Land Use Act. It doesn't own, but it regulates the exercise control and all that. So it formulates policies, laws, guidance, and all that that relates to developing that land. Are you following? So they're in charge, they're in control. Okay? So if they give you a land for a particular purpose, and you now want to transfer that land to another person, you must get his approval. That's the consent. That the land you assign to me, I want to give it to another person to use, by way of gift or sale or something, you must disclose the purpose. Okay. So governor will now give his consent that, okay, I've agreed to. It's like somebody, you lease somebody, you rent somebody's house, and you want to sublet part of the house, or you want to sublet the whole house. You tell the landlord now that landlord, I still have 10 years, I still have out of my 1 year, I still have 8 months. So I want my brother to occupy. I want this person or something. So you take the person to the landlord, and the landlord says, okay, I agreed. So understand, the person will now use the part of what that person has left in that property after we quit.
All right.
So that's consent. Consent is an agreement. I agree that, okay, I give you permission to do what you intend to do. So it's just like you pay necessary fees, like the consent fee. Agreement. It's not agreement fee. This is what money that I'm agreeing to you doing what you want to do. That's the consent, and you pay a fee for that purpose. Yes, to cover the state government.
Okay. Lastly, what is stamp duty in relation to land, property, and transactions?
Very good. You see, stamp duty is okay. Like we write letters, we sign agreements, from time to time between people and all that for different reasons or the same purpose. But for that document to be legally binding, to be recognized in law, to be acceptable in law, especially when there are litigations, in respect of certain transactions, before that document could be admissible, in law, it must be stamped. So that give that document that you know, more power, more authority, more recognizable,
Credence.
which means, yeah, credence. Thank you for using that word. You know, it gives more credence. You know, it gives it more value. You know that this is not fake. This is authentic. Government know about it. That is stamp duty. So
thank you very much for your time, sir. It's been great
You're
talking
welcome.
to you. We'd like you to talk about this Cable Plus property endeavor, and where would you advise us to improve?
The Cable is doing a marvelous job. When I first I was here, I said, well, this is good because people need to be properly educated, people need to be properly informed, people need to know what to do, you know, so that there is a case in town now where a particular property was let to as many as possible, raking the fake landlord raking about 60 million, which he absconded with. But with this kind of information, with this kind of you know, enlightenment, the public, general public, will know what to do, where to go, and the kind of information they need to be, you know, to get handy in order not to fall into, you know, wrong hands, in order not to fall into the, you know, to the hands of fraudulent people. So it's a good thing, and I wish, just like what is it called now? Where are these websites that you can source for? Wikipedia. You can Google, you know, and get information and all that. So I think, you know, Cable Point is doing something similar, but in this case, with pictures, with, you know, so those who may not like to read, you know, can listen and learn and gain knowledge and obtain this information that could help them in their various transactions on landed property. I think it's a good venture.
Thank you very much for your
You're
time,
welcome.
sir. It was great talking to you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much for watching this video. I trust that you have learned a lot about another aspect of the surveying profession, which is estate surveying and valuation. Okay, make sure you subscribe to this channel, like the video, share with friends, family and colleagues. Head on to Facebook and Instagram, like our Facebook page at Cable Plus Property, and follow us on Instagram at Cable Plus Property, so you can be notified when we upload our next video. My name is Oiza and this is Cable Plus Property.